Hi, and thanks for joining. If you're new here, I'm Wendy and this is Nina's Jewels. My husband and I buy things at garage sales, flea markets, thrift stores, just about anywhere we can find things to sell online and flip for a profit. If that's content you're interested in, you're in the right place. Today's video is going to be what sold for January 21st through 27th. Let's get started. The first thing that sold was a 2020 Pokemon card. It was called Mimic You. It was from the Trick or Trade booster set. And we got this at a garage sale. We just aired this video where we picked this card up. And this is the only card that we've sold from this set. But we did also sell a coin from this bag of Pokemon items that we got. And that'll be coming up on a future What Sold video. But this card sold for $2.29 and we had paid just 14 cents for it. And it sold for our asking price. Next up was a lot of 7 National Geographic Traveler magazines. It was various issues from 2010 and 2011. When we were doing our inventory, we decided to lot a lot of our free magazines together into big lots, and that seemed to get several of them moving. And immediately when we lotted all of these National Geographic Traveler magazines together, they sold for our full asking price of $24.99. We had no cost associated with these. We got all of them from various pickups through the Nextdoor app. Also, I wanted to mention that in our last What Sold video, all of the tiles that we have over here for the items that we sold, when I did the screenshots for the last What Sold video, there was a weird glitch in eBay and it was not showing the prices. Like the price section, the sold area on the price section on eBay was just blank. It was just a big blank area. I don't know if they had done an update and it just wasn't showing the price, or if there was just a glitch going on at the particular time that I was grabbing the screenshots for the last What Sold video, but that's why my screenshots looked weird and it wasn't showing the prices last time. And at the time I recorded that video, I didn't know that the screenshots were going to look like that, or I would have mentioned something in the video, because I generally don't grab the screenshots until after I've recorded the video. But anyway, I did just actually go in to look at the screenshots and grab a few to make sure that they were going to have the prices in them, and it looks like they fixed that issue. I don't know if they updated again or if it was just a glitch, but I think I'm going to have the prices showing when I capture all of those screenshots this time. I was able to go in and do screenshots for the first like 3 or 4 items, and it looks like they're all going to be good, and it's going to be like normal looking this time. So you'll be able to see the sold price or what we had the listed price for, instead of just having to listen to me say it. So because when I watched the video back, it was weird not being able to see the price on the screen as well. So anyway, I thought I would just mention that. Okay, now I've forgotten where I am. The next thing that sold was an ENC Jeans women's charcoal gray stretch denim blazer. This was actually mine, but I had gotten it used. Like I get most of my clothes used because I'm cheap. And I had had this for a really long time. I'd gotten it from like a big bulk lot of clothes that I probably bought to resell, and then just decided to keep this. Then just decided that I didn't wear it anymore and decided to sell it. We had it listed for a very, very, very long time, and it eventually sold on best offer for $20. I don't remember what my cost was, so I don't have any cost listed for it. Next up was 3 individually wrapped, really fancy, very intricately done greeting cards. They were different brands. The brands that I have listed on here are Papyrus and Voila. They were Christmas, Valentine's themed, and then one of them was just a blank card. And we had gotten those in the Goodwill bins, and we paid 94 cents for them. They sold for our full asking price of $13.99. I mean, these were just no ordinary greeting cards. They were very, very fancy, very nice greeting cards. We got positive feedback on those. They did take quite a while to sell. Next up was a lot of 2 packs, 3 ounces each, of multicolor party paper confetti that you could use to stuff like Easter eggs or a piñata, just multi-use confetti. We had gotten both of these in the Goodwill bins. We paid $1.59 in total for them, and they sold on offer to buyer for $11.98. We got positive feedback on those. Next up was a simplicity pattern for 6 different kinds of flare skirts. It was an uncut, unused pattern. We got that at a garage sale for 50 cents, and it sold on offer to buyer for $8.78. We got positive feedback on that as well. Next up was a vintage Y2K Juicy Couture pink and gold velvet preppy royalty embroidered wristlet or clutch. We got that at a garage sale for $1. We just aired the footage of us picking this up. It sold for $50 even on best offer. I mean, this was true vintage Juicy Couture, like back when the velvet sweatsuits were in style. And that sold really quickly. So that's an item to be on the lookout for. And actually, my daughter was saying that those velvet sweatsuits are back in style. The kids at her high school are wearing them. So if you see any of the vintage Juicy Couture sweatsuits, that is a definite pickup. And so are these clutches, if you see those. Next up was a 6-piece lot of Toddler Boys 4T clothing. It included all different brands. And we got all of the items in this lot at the storage auction unit that we bought for $30, but we paid 23 cents for everything in this lot in total, and it sold for $17.65. Next up was another item that we got in that storage auction unit. This was a Danbury Mint Kennedy Half Dollars Crystal Collection. This was just the base, the display base, and the sculpture only. It did not include any of the coins. And we had the original box that it was shipped in, so we were able, and it had like all of the foam inserts that kept all of the pieces packed in there, so that made it really easy for us. We were able to just ship it out in that box. And we only paid 23 cents for this item as well because we had averaged out our cost of goods on that $30 storage unit, so that was really nice. We had a lot of interest and watchers on this, but nobody really wanted to pay very much for it, and it was quite heavy, and it was going to, cost quite a bit to ship. But we did eventually get an offer of $35, and that was good enough for us since we had only paid 23 cents for it. So we accepted that. So that was a good profit for us, and we've made tons of money on that storage unit, so definitely worth it. Next up was a Fry & Company men's chocolate brown cable knit cuffed beanie cap that we got when we were doing retail arbitrage. We paid $7.95 for that, and it sold on our full asking price, but the buyer did apply a 10% off promotion that we were running this particular month. Next up was a vintage Windmere skinny mini micro mini 3/8-inch barrel curling iron. It was used, but we had the original box and the instruction manual and everything. It was in really well-kept condition. I had gotten this at an estate sale. I paid $2 for it, and it sold on best offer for $20. And vintage curling irons, vintage straight hair straighteners. I don't know about blow dryers. I've never really researched those, but vintage curling irons and crimpers and things like that are definitely Bolo items if you see those at estate sales or garage sales, worth picking up. Next up was a Bath & Body Works Spiced Gingerbread Swirl Ultra Shea Body Cream. We got that at a garage sale for $2.22. It was brand new, and that sold for our full asking price of $27.99. Next up was a 1995 starting lineup. It was loose, not new in the package. This was an NBA Karl Malone figure, and we had gotten that in a thrift store toy bag for just 10 cents. It sold for $8.48. We got really nice positive feedback on that item. So even though we didn't make lots of money on it, the buyer was very happy with it, and we're always happy when we make a good connection with a buyer who got something that they were excited to have. Next up was a DirecTV replacement Genie Remote control. We got this in the Goodwill bins when we were playing Bins Bingo. We paid $1.18 for it, and it sold very quickly for $9 even on best offer. Next up was a vintage 1980 Pat Duncan Babies Cryin' and Truck Driver's Daughter vinyl single. We got this at an estate sale a long time ago for just 33 cents. We bought a big box of records for $20, and we broke down our cost of goods per record for just 33 cents. This one sold for $7.58 on offer to buyer. Next up was a 1996 Headliners action figure figurine. It was a little small figurine of Cal Ripken Jr. It was new in the package. That belonged to my husband, and it sold for $12.99. We had that listed forever and recently did end item and sell similar, and it sold immediately. Next up was another item that we've had listed forever that would belong to us, and we did end item and sell similar, and it sold immediately. This was a set of 2 women's blue iridescent beaded bracelets. They had a little sterling silver closure on the wrist part that like you tied a little string around. It had sterling silver like coin looking thing that you wrapped the string around, and they were really pretty bracelets. But I just don't really wear a lot of bracelets, so I decided to sell them, but they were mine, and they sold for $15 even on best offer. Next up was something we got in the Goodwill bins, plain bins bingo, and this was a Pfeiffer screening spline. This was used for rescreening windows and doors. It was brand new in the package. We paid $1.18 for that, and it sold for $12 even on best offer. Next up was something I got from a big bag of doll items that I got from someone on Facebook Marketplace, and it was marketed to me as mostly 18-inch doll items, and that is what was mostly in there, but there were also a few other random items in there, including these. These were Mattel Barbie Pet Replacement Baskets, so they were the little baskets that you would hold the little Barbie pets in, but they didn't have any of the Barbie pets. These were just the baskets only. So I had 2 of the baskets, the purple baskets, and I said no animals included in the title. These sold for $7.98 on offer to buyer, and I had paid 67 cents for these. Next up was a Bible. It was a large print, thin line red letter edition from 1996. We got this at a thrift store. We paid $1.08 for it, and it sold for $30 even on best offer. Next up was something we have had in our store for a very long time, and it finally sold when we did end item and sell similar. And we actually bought these one of the first times we went out to a garage sale sourcing, and it was probably just a bad buy. We didn't really know what we were doing, and we still have several of these cookbooks that we decided if they don't sell this year, we're just going to lawn them all together and see if we can get them to move. But this one did sell when we ended it and did sell similar. This one was a Better Homes and Gardens all-time favorite pies. We had paid $2 for it, and it sold for $8.78. So we were just glad to get that one moved out of our store. Next up was a black and orange chevron tribal tiger print was how I described it. It was an infinity scarf. It was new in the package. We found it in the Goodwill bins along with about, I think we probably have about 6 or 7 exactly like this. We just found a big supply of these exact scarves. Somebody had probably closed them out at a store and then they didn't sell and just donated them to the bins. So this is the one and only of these scarves that we've sold. I did lower the price on them significantly this year, so hopefully we'll move some more of these. We did end and sell similar, and hopefully these will continue to sell. That got this one to sell at $16.99, and we had paid just 67 cents for it at the bins. So hopefully more of these will sell. They are quite pretty. I just think it doesn't have a brand, so somebody has to just kind of be searching for infinity scarf and come across it and then like it. So hopefully we'll get those to move. Next up was a DVD. It was called The Devil Lady Volume 3. And this was used. We got this at a garage sale. We paid 75 cents for it, and it sold for $8.44. Unfortunately, it was returned to us, and in the return, the buyer stated that they watched it and they didn't like it. Because we offer free returns, it just automatically accepted the return and we got it back. And so I reported the buyer for misuse of returns because, you know, we're not a red box. You don't just watch the movie and then return it. Get to just return it for free if you don't like it. That's not really how things work. And so I did only refund them 50%. I've never ever refunded a buyer a partial refund. I've never used that feature. This is the first time. And so I guess the buyer has the option to dispute that if you only refund them partially. And so it's been 5 days and the buyer has not said anything. They haven't disputed it. Nothing's been done. I guess we're just kind of in waiting mode for the buyer. So I did contact eBay today before I made this video to find out how long the buyer has to dispute it and what happens if they do dispute it. Basically, what are the next steps? And eBay let me know that I'm covered in this instance, that if the buyer does dispute it, eBay will take care of the remaining fees. If they dispute it, I don't have any further financial responsibility. eBay will refund them the rest of the funds out of eBay's account, and that I'm covered in this instance because the buyer did basically break eBay's rules in using the product and then returning it. And so I'm assuming that that also means, I didn't specifically ask this at this time, I will deal with it if it happens. Basically, I didn't want to, open a whole new can of worms with this rep, but basically I'll cross this bridge if it comes to it. But if the buyer leaves me negative feedback, I think I'm also covered in this instance because we do offer free returns. If the buyer leaves me negative feedback, I think I'm covered in this instance as well, and I believe that eBay will remove the negative feedback for me. So that was definitely an interesting thing that happened. We have that item relisted, and I actually decided in this instance to list it with no returns, but now I'm actually kind of questioning that and considering going back in and putting free returns on there, because free returns kind of, save my tail in this instance. So let me know in the comments below whether or not you think I should leave it with no returns or change it back to free returns. So let me know what you think about that. Okay, next up was a Teaser in the Fire Cat vinyl record by Cat Stevens. It was in okay condition. It had a little bit of a popping sound in it, and we did disclose that. You'll see that we just listed the record in G plus condition, which is good plus, and we were a little bit worried about sending it out. Sometimes when something's not in really great condition, we just don't even list it. But this record had a pretty good sell-through rate, and we felt like if we were very clear about it in the listing, that it would be okay. So we did list it for a fair price and disclosed that. It sold for $10.99, which was our full asking price. And we had gotten that at an estate sale. We paid $3.75 for it. So not a lot of profit there. So that worried us even more, because if the sale didn't work out, it was like, that was just going to kind of tank that sale. But the buyer was actually very happy with it, and we received positive feedback. It's always the ones that you expect the least that give you the trouble, is what I've found. The ones you worry about, you usually get positive feedback on, and the ones that you think are going to go just fine are the ones that surprise you. Next up was a Fort Worth Stock Show Syndicate silk necktie. And that we got in the Goodwill bins when we were playing Bins Bingo. We paid $1.18 for that, and that sold for $22.48. When my husband picked out that tie and showed it to me, I knew immediately that that was going to sell. We got positive feedback for that. Next up was a Fantasy Island, the first season DVD box set. That actually belonged to us. It was just one of my favorite shows as a kid, and so my husband had bought it for me and we had watched it. And that sold for $11 even. We had quite a bit of interest on that, so if you do ever see that out in the wild, probably worth picking up for the right price. And we got positive feedback on that. Next up was an item that we had parted out. We had picked up a camera, a Canon PowerShot camera, and I don't remember now exactly what was wrong with the camera, but for some reason we couldn't sell the camera, so we decided to part out several different parts of the camera. I know we parted out the manual and maybe the lens cap and some other different parts of the camera, and this part that sold was the printer interface and AV to 3.5 millimeter cables. These sold for $12.50, and we had paid $3 for this element of it. I don't remember how much we paid for the camera in total, but we couldn't sell the camera part of it, and like I said, I don't remember why. But we did get positive feedback on this element of it, and I think at this point we might have sold everything from that camera. I can't remember now, and we've probably made it worth our while on picking up a broken camera and making lemons out of lemonade on that one. So last but not least, I'll go over all of the collectible cards that sold from my husband's personal collection. This week we had a pretty good week with cards. We sold 11 cards in total for a total dollar value of $33.29. And I'm happy to report that we are completely done with our inventory for the year. And we really did a deep dive into inventory this year. We combined a lot of listings. We got everything set up on the new Ginger Marvin spreadsheet, and I will make sure to link that again down below in our description box. So if you need a spreadsheet, make sure to check that one out because it's free and it's a really great resource for resellers. We got everything moved onto that spreadsheet, so I feel like next year when we do inventory, it will be much, much, much faster. So anyway, sales are really good, and we have sold out of a lot of our old inventory, which is good. And we are now already moving on to our death pile, which is starting to junk up the other room and getting into some of that. And also, since it's been sitting in there for so long, it's like we are shopping it all again because we have totally forgotten what was in there. So now when we open a bag, we're like, oh yeah, what is this? Where did we get this? It's like we're seeing it again for the first time. So it's exciting. All right, well, thanks so much for joining us. And if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to let us know by hitting the like button. And if you're not already subscribed, consider hitting that subscribe button with the notification bell turned on so you can be kept informed of all of our latest content. Make sure you stick around for another video that's going to pop up right over here, and we will see you on the flip side.